Welcome all. Today in architecture and town planning, we will get to know about the one of the architectural marvel of the Dravidian style temple, which is the Meenakshi Amman temple. So, an masterpiece of the Dravidian architecture, that is, Meenakshi Amman temple is located in Madurai, Tamil Nadu, dedicated to goddess Meenakshi and Lord Sundareshwara, which is Lord Shiva, and Meenakshi represents the Parvati. And one of the most remarkable example of the Dravidian architecture in India, far more than a religious center, a masterpiece of the architecture, sculpture, engineering, and the urban planning, reflects the artistic excellence of the Pandya, Vijayanagara, and the Nayak dynasties. A living case study for civil engineers, that is, construction methods, structural design, and water management, and the heritage conservation. So it is about 14 acre temple complex area and gopurams, that is entrance towers, and 985 carved pillars in the 1000 pillar hall and 30,000 plus sculptures across the complex. Next is about the historical background. So 2000 years in the making, that is Madurai is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in India. Hindu mythology holds that the temple marks the site of Shiva's marriage to Meenakshi. So built in the early Pandya period, and the temple was extensively reconstructed and expanded by the king Thirumalai Nayaka and other Nayaka rules in the 16th and the 17th century. So first early Pandya kings, there is original temple foundation and early sanctums established. And in the Vijayanagara Empire, architectural expansion and the artistic patronages. Then the Nayak dynasty, which is between the 16th to the 17th century, major reconstruction under the Tirumalai Nayakar, gopurams, that is gopurams, halls, and the tanks were built. And in the modern conservation, archaeological agencies undertake scientific restorations. Next is about the location and the site planning. That is a city planned around a temple. The temple site at the Madurai's geographic and the cultural center, that is concentric square streets radiate outwards from the complex, symbolizing the cosmic order of the Hindu philosophy, an early model of the integrated urban design. This is the temple located at the geographical and the cultural center, concentric streets around the temple, radial road networks, and commercial activity surrounding the temple, and religious processional routes, and also the proper drainage and the circulation. Then the Dravidian idiom, that is the temple, is the first expression of the Dravidian architecture where monumental gateway towers, that is gopurams, dominate, unlike the North Indian Nagara temples where the central Sikara is the visual focus. So the monumental entrance towers, that is gopurams, massive stone walls, pillared halls, granite construction, intricate sculptures, and the symmetrical planning, sacred water tanks, and the temple corridor. Next is about the temple layout. There is five major components. It is of the temple is of located in around the 14 acres. That is, first one is the gopuram, which is the 14. There is a 14 towers, that is 45 to 52-meter tall, and sanctum, that is twin shrines, that is Meenakshi and the Sundareshwarar. Then the golden lotus tank, that is sacred stepped water reservoir, and 1000 pillar hall, that is 985 carved granite pillars, and the mandapal, that is for the ritual and the gathering halls. Next is about the Gopuram. There is the monumental gateway. That is, the height ranges from 45 to 52 meters, covered with thousands of colorful sculptures and granite based with the brick superstructure, decorated with the mythological figures, and functions as the visual landmark. Southern Gopuram is the tallest one of all the other Gopurams. Its engineering significance: wide foundation for the load spread, then progressive reduction in the cross section with the height, balanced load distribution tire to tire, high resistance against the lateral, that is wind or the seismic forces. Next is about the sanctum and sanctorium, that is Garbhagriha. The temple contains two principal sanctums, one for each other deity. There is one for god Meenakshi, incarnation of Parvati, and other for the Lord Sundareshwar, which is a form of the Lord Shiva. That is its structural characteristics include square chamber plan for the structural symmetry, thick granite walls carrying the compressive loads, minimal opening entrance enhances the structure stability, and excellent thermal comfort from the massive stone mass. Next is about the component, that is a golden lotus tank. So its function includes the religious ceremonies, rainwater collection, water conservation, groundwater recharge, temperature regulation, and its engineering importance, that is stone-lined reservoirs and the proper drainage channels and controlled water inflow, sustainable management. Next component is the thousand pillar hall. So traditionally called the thousand pillar hall, it actually contains 985 beautifully carved granite pillars, one of the temple's greatest engineering achievement. Its features include granite pillars, uniform spacing, excellent symmetry, load-bearing stone structures, a museum inside the hall, and the engineering principles include the compression dominant structural systems, and the proper load transfer path, equal distribution of the roof loads, and the high durability over the centuries. And uniform grid spacing is maintained between all the pillars. Next component is about the mandabas, that is hall for the ritual and gatherings, Kilikundu Mandabam, and Ashta Shakti Mandabam, Vasanta Mandabam, and Unchal Mandabam. So its functions include gathering spaces for the devotees and the ritual performances, cultural programs, and the religious discourses. Next is about the construction materials that has been used for the construction of the Meenakshi Amman temple. So first one is the granite, other one is the brick and the lime mortar and the timber. So granite, it is mainly used for the foundation, pillars, walls and floorings. So it is of high compressive strength, weather resistance, durability and also fire resistance. And brick is used for the Gopuram superstructures, which is of lightweight, easy to shape, reduces dead load. And for the under the lime mortar, it is used for the traditional binding material throughout. So its characteristics include the flexibility, breathability, crack and self-healing resistance, and long service life. And the timber is used for making the doors, roof elements and the decorative works. So it is of good durability, natural finish and the decorative details. Next is about the structure engineering, that is a concept of related to structure engineering in the Meenakshi Amman temple, that is the load bearing systems, that is path of forces. The entire temple relies on the load bearing stone masonry. Loads travel through a clear direct path from roof to soil, that is roof, stone beams and to granite pillars and to the stone foundation and then to the soil. This is the load transfer path. And the foundation features include wide stone foundation for the load spread, uniform settlement across the structure, excellent stability and the strong bearing capacity. And in the stone beam construction, large granite beams span between the pillars, high compressive strength and the long life and the low maintenance will is required. Next is about the earthquake resistant characteristics. Although ancient buildings had no modern specific seismic analysis, the temple possesses the remarkable earthquake resistant characteristics through the mass, geometry, and the interlocking construction. There is thick walls and low center of gravity, then symmetrical planning and interlocking blocks and the heavy foundation. Next is about the sculpture excellence, that is over 30,000 sculptures were found there, and these sculptures are structurally integrated with the load-bearing members without weakening their capacity. The ornaments and the engineering works are the one, that is Hindu deities, animals and the mythological stories and dancers, musicians and the floral motifs. These are the motifs which is mainly used in that 30,000 plus sculptures. Next is about the symmetry, proportion, rhythm, and the hierarchy of the Meenakshi Amman temple. Symmetry, so geometrically balanced structure gives the visual harmony, uniform load transfer, and the structural stability. And in terms of proportion, structural components follow the proportional dimensions, height to width ratio, that is pillar dimensions, gopuram tapering. Then the rhythms, mm, repeated pillars and the sculptures create the architectural rhythm across the corridor and the halls. So the hierarchy of the space is from main sanctum to mandabas and to corridors and to the entrance towers. Next is about the temple-centered urban design. So Madurai is a classic example of the temple-centered town planning where religious, commercial and residential functions are integrated efficiently around the sacred core. That is, its planning characteristics was central temple, ring roads and the commercial streets, residential zone, water bodies and the public gathering spaces. This planning encouraged the efficient circulation, trade, social interaction and the religious activity. Next is about the environmental consideration, that is the sustainable practice centuries which was followed centuries ago. That is natural ventilation, large corridors improves the airflow. Then the natural lighting, so open courtyards provide the daylight and the rainwater harvesting. Temple tanks store the rainwater, thermal comfort. Granite walls keep interiors cool and the sustainable materials, local stones and lime reduces the impact. Next is about the challenges and the measures. Its challenges include the air pollution, water seepage, biological growth, and also tourist pressure, weathering, structural aging, and the paint deterioration. Its conservation measures to be followed was structural inspection and the crack monitoring, stone cleaning and the limestone repairs, and the controlled drainage and the visitor management, digital documentation, and the scientific restorations. Then importance which a civilization can take from the architecture marvels, that is ancient construction technology, stone masonry, foundation engineering, structural stability, sustainable architecture, heritage conservation, urban planning, water resource management, building materials, and the architectural aesthetics. Its advantages include the structural stability, sustainability, water management, ventilation, and the earthquake resistance, whereas the limitations was high cost, labor intensive carvings, and the long construction period, heavy structural weight. So, ensuring wisdom in a stone, that is Meenakshi Amman temple integrates religious symbolism, that is a structural engineering, artistic excellence and the environmental sustainability and the town planning into one monumental complex, a lasting lesson for every civilization. That is robust, load-bearing construction, efficient, symmetrical planning, innovative water management, and the remarkable durability across the centuries. These are about the architectural concepts of the Meenakshi Amman temple, which is of the Dravidian style. Thank you.